Welcome to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next. The official podcast of the Diablo Valley College Alumni Association. As we celebrate 75 years of DVC's impact on education, careers, and community, we're honored to share the incredible journeys of alumni who've transformed their time on our vibrant campus into meaningful careers, community contributions, and personal success. Each Tuesday, we spotlight DVC alumni, from first-generation graduates to entrepreneurs, educators, and leaders who share the triumphs, challenges, and pivotal moments that shaped their lives. And on Thursdays, it's Resource Thursday. We dive into the programs, departments, and services that make DVC the supportive, dynamic community it is, exploring how they serve students and how you can connect with them. Whether you're a current student, recent graduate, or longtime alum, join us as we honor DVC's legacy and discover how our past continues to inspire the future. Thank you for being part of this journey. Be sure to tune in, subscribe, and celebrate with us. DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next. And now, join our host, Alumni Manager, Charlie Daly.
And we are live. And would you be kind enough to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Bob Linscheid, native of Contra Costa, currently President and CEO of the Walnut Creek Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau.
Cool. So
Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited to have this. I've been looking forward to it because I know that I've heard some great stories and stuff about you around the state.
Some of them are actually true.
That's always the case, isn't it?
Yeah.
So start off with like where you actually grew up around here.
Wow. Well, I was born in Pittsburg, California.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a blue-collar town.
Grew up in Antioch, which means that there's an instant rivalry there between where I was born and where I grew up.
Yep.
My dad played football for Pittsburg High. I played football for Antioch High. It was one of those great things that you talk to the family about Thanksgiving time.
Yeah, and everybody's like, I went to YV back before De La Salle was a team.
Yeah,
and so our big rival was Pittsburg. Yeah, that was the team to beat, for sure. Yeah. So, well, cool.
we played Ignacio Valley.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was the crush of Contra Costa, and we were the ones fighting it out for CIF,
Yeah. Kiko Garcia was your quarterback during my era.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't realize he
played professional baseball for Baltimore Orioles.
Yes, yeah. And for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah.
He went to the World Series both as a Pirate and as an Oriole.
Yeah.
So he was something, man.
We hated him.
Yeah. Next time I see him, I know him and Dennis Lequette are good friends. And Dennis Lequette, he was other half of the middle infield here at YV, and now he coaches here at DVC.
Wow.
So it's a long time ago. So, so you went from hating Kiko Garcia to how'd you end up here at DVC?
Well, let's face it. When you're 17 years old and graduate from high school, you don't know what the heck you want to do. And
yeah.
I actually was a classmate of my mother's. So we were both freshmen at DVC. She figured she raised me and she wanted to further her education, so she came here. And I'd get these phone calls the night before class and from these friends, and there were no cell phones during that time.
Yep.
And they'd say, "Yeah, is your mom home?
Oh,
I need a ride to campus tomorrow." And so my friends would get rides from my mother, and she did much better in class than I did, which bugged me. But you actually have to study to get decent grades. So.
Yeah. We did a podcast that's going to come out next on the end of October that with a second and third generation DVC alum, and the first generation was their grandmother / mother, who graduated in 1955 from East Contra Costa Junior College. So
right.
So it was a while ago, but it was called DVC when you went here.
So,
yeah.
It was it was called DVC. My dad graduated from DVC. My mom did.
Wow.
And I did. And my dad and I both graduated with an associate's degree in administration of justice.
Oh, wow.
So my dad was a cop. I wanted to be a cop. And then something happened during my second year here at DVC that caused me to go a different path.
Okay.
So I didn't. I got the degree, but didn't follow the same career path.
Yeah. Well, and like you were saying, when you're 17 and 18, 19, 20, it's like most of the time you don't know what you want to do.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite part about going to DVC at that point?
Close to home. Got to mingle with people that were from competing high schools. I didn't play football here, but a lot of my classmates did. And in fact, All-American quarterback at BYU started his career. Gary Scheide was his name.
Wow.
Or is his name. He's still in Provo, Utah. And, a bunch of my classmates went here. So I worked. I had a job at Antioch Stationers in downtown Antioch and worked for Leo Fontana for a number of years. And unfortunately, a couple of years ago, he passed at 100 years old. And he was a mentor of mine. So I worked while I went to DVC. I took classes all day, Tuesday and Thursday, and worked Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday full time. So it was, it was cheap by comparison to today's standards, but I couldn't afford to go to a 4-year institution, and so I went to community college and loved it. Easy transfer because I got the 60 units that you need, and transferred to Chico State after that. Harvard of the West.
Okay.
So yeah, it was, and they didn't have administration of justice at Chico State. The closest campus, police science, was Sacramento State, and I didn't want to go there. I figured that a lot of my high school friends went to Chico. Some of them right out of high school. Me, I still needed to get my laundry done, so I stayed at home.
And so you were up at Chico. I think it was up there that you met a mutual friend of ours, Tom Garino. We were talking about just a moment ago.
Yeah, that was after my college career. That was during my stint up there. But what was interesting to the listener maybe is I was a classmate of Peter Garcia.
Really?
Who ended up being president of Diablo Valley College.
Okay.
We were on the same intramural football team.
Okay.
Pittsburg and Antioch guys, and they really enjoyed that. And Peter's a terrific guy. He actually was in the seminary after that.
Okay.
Priest, and decided to give it up and went into education. So priesthood to education, that's quite a transition.
That is.
Peter's a lovely guy. I talk to him occasionally. And so that was in the 70s, which most of your listeners weren't around then, probably. But
some of us were.
And got my master's degree in public administration and went back to Antioch as the CEO for the chamber.
Oh, okay.
Antioch.
Okay.
And where I met Tom was I returned to Chico in the mid 80s to take the chamber job. And Tom was the first person I met because he was a news director at KPAY radio.
Oh, wow. That's
AM
right.
Radio.
Yeah.
News director. And he had the habit of calling me up and putting me on live. So it was, he had that deep voice and patented deep voice. And ladies and gentlemen, we have the president and CEO of the Chico Chamber of Commerce with us live, and it was.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. And his daughter, Teresa, who I communicate to occasionally, was about 5 years old at the time.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was a long time ago.
Yeah. So you went through your experience at being Chico. You went from Antioch to Chico, and then tell us a little bit more about your history, because I'm sure people are going to want to know.
Well, let's see. Thank you for the trip down amnesia lane. Okay. It was an interesting time in Chico's growth. The Sierra Nevada, which is the mainstay of that economy.
Yes.
It seems like was in its infancy stage. It actually started in 80, November 15th, 1980. I just happen to remember dates like, Pearl Harbor Day and when Sierra Nevada opened. And that was 86 when I went back to Chico and met Tom at that time. And a couple of years later, he was working for Chris Chandler, who was an assembly member in the Chico region. And, I said to him offhanded, I really need to up the game of this organization and government relations. Would you be interested in exploring that opportunity with me? And he said he was. And I didn't have the money to hire him.
Yeah.
So I reached out to some folks locally and said, look, if you put some money toward this initiative, we call it the Business Action Network. If I can get a 2-year commitment, I'll make it work after that. And I hired Tom. He was director of government relations for the Chico Chamber. And after 7 years, I wanted to do something else. And so I kind of did a consultantship to economic development, to track companies and that sort of thing. And Tom became the CEO of Chico.
Yeah.
So, and from there, he went to San Leandro Chamber and then to PG&E, where he ended his career there. So, yeah, it was great times because we didn't let the partisanship get in the way. It's pretty much a red state up there. And,
yes, it is.
And so,
bright red.
Right. And Tom and I got along with both sides of the political spectrum, which is tough in Chico because it was politically divided. Still is to this day, pretty politically divided because the city limits of Chico is predominantly blue and the surrounding agriculture there is predominantly red. And when you can get along with both folks, and Tom had a knack for that, and we strategized a lot on how we could make a difference. Yeah, and was an enjoyable part of my career down there. Yeah, or up there.
Yeah, my father-in-law used to live up and outside of Reading, and it is bright red up there.
Yeah,
and it's interesting to see. And just talk to people in general. And I think a lot of people don't appreciate how different it is once you get outside of, like the Bay Area. It's like you leave these kind of bubbles and it's like it's a different world,
Yeah. It doesn't mean it's good or bad. It's just, it is.
It's just different. And I think the thing that we need to learn to appreciate is that it is different, and it's important that it is. Yeah. They have different issues than we do. So,
yeah.
So you went on, so you went from Chico, you go to...
Well, during my stint in Chico, so I was there a total of 27 years professionally.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So when I left the chamber in 93, started my own shtick, if you will, had a consultantship, very interested in helping to build an economy, and had this wild idea that Chico was perfect for minor league baseball, and had this really passion for how to make it work. And if you recall back in the early 90s, 93, 94, the Giants were rumored to move to St. Petersburg, Florida.
That's right.
And at that time, we had a task force at the chamber to see what it would take for us to recruit a minor league team. And I remember assembling a group. I think Tom was part of that group. And we went to San Jose, California, and met with Harry Stavronos, who owned the San Jose Giants. At that time, the big club Giants had no interest in the San Jose Single A club. And we went to Harry and said, here's some demographic data on Chico. We're pretty well known for Division II baseball school. We'd be interested in talking with you about the relocation because if the Giants moved out of California, there was some speculation that the Single A club may move closer or, whatever. And when we met with Harry, he said, look, if you build a ballpark to the major league specifications for a minor league team, we'll do it. And so we convinced the city council in Chico to put a ballot measure on. Now, this was not a mandatory ballot measure, but it was a barometer as to whether the citizens would support a tax measure to build a stadium, because it was happening quite a bit worldwide, I should say nationally. And the ballot measure didn't do too well. 48% favored it, and obviously you need to get over 50% to have any semblance of interest. And at that time, a friend who owned a bunch of grocery stores sold them. His name was Steve Nettleton. And Steve saw me at a restaurant one night and said, I really appreciate the effort you've done to bring minor league baseball to this region. I'd be really interested in exploring that with you. And I said, well, what does that mean? And he said, well, let's figure out what we could do to get a minor league team here. And we discovered in the 93, 94 era, the Major League Baseball strike took place, and independent teams throughout the country were forming, Atlantic League and the Northwest League, and all these leagues were forming. And in the Western United States, the Western Baseball League of independent baseball was formed. And if in preparation, at least mentally, for our conversation today, I thought about that role. But Tri-City, Washington was in it. Bend, Oregon was in it. Sonoma County Crushers were in the league. A team in Long Beach, a team in Salinas, and so there was a growing interest in independent minor league baseball. And the closest facility that we had that emulated any kind of baseball was Chico State.
Right.
And so Steve and I met with the president of the university and kind of did some figuring, and Steve made a bucket of money from the sale of his grocery stores and essentially funded the stadium that's called Nettleton Stadium today at Chico State.
Oh, wow.
And that's where the Chico Heat played. We did a contest and decided that it's hotter than hell in Chico. It's appropriate to name it the Chico Heat. And it was an incredible success from the standpoint of community engagement. We went through all the episode of the board of trustees of the CSU having to approve it, Steve, putting the money in escrow, getting assurances that we could play. And it was a 90-game season, so it didn't conflict with college.
Yeah.
And this season ended before the school started. So it was a great exercise. The only thing that interrupted that was workers' compensation premiums, particularly for those that get injured frequently, skyrocketed. And the league essentially folded. So, yeah, that was, the first season was 97. We got the franchise in 96 and played consecutive years until 2002, 2003, something like that. Mm-hmm. And then it went dark for a year, and then I helped bring another team, the Chico Outlaws, which was a single ownership model that was formed by Dave Cavell, who's the current president of the EAs.
Okay. Oh,
he was in that framework. So, yeah, I've had some fascinating experience in minor league baseball, and yeah, it was a good community effort.
Well, I also like that even though that wasn't the first run at it wasn't successful, there's somehow a way to make it work appeared, and it was probably from you having the connections in town and doing the pre-work of knowing everybody and having those connections that really is what made the next thing happen.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, let's face it, you can't, Steve used to say that I learned how to make a small fortune I started with a large one.
Yeah.
Because, independent baseball is glamorous from the outsider's perspective, but you don't make a whole lot of money at it.
Well, no, it's like owning a restaurant or my other favorite. My hobby is bicycles. And it's like somebody goes, you should open a bike shop. I said, no. It's like if you want to make a small fortune, you start with a large fortune and open a bike shop. And that's same model. Yeah. So fast forward a little bit, you got through the late 90s, early 2000s. What ended up bringing you out to this neck of the woods?
Well, I was pretty involved in the Alumni Association at Chico State. I was on what is called the Alumni Council. Each campus has two representatives. One of the representatives is from the Volunteer Board, Alumni Association, and the other member of the Alumni Council is a staff member, Director of Alumni Relations, typically. And so I was pretty involved in that, still doing my consulting business. While baseball didn't succeed, I was still involved in a lot of working with entrepreneurs, helping get startups going. Chico's an interesting community because the campus plays a huge part of the economy there. And got involved in the Alumni Council, was president of the statewide Alumni Council. And in the 70s, the legislature passed a bill to allow a representative of the Alumni Council to be on the Board of Trustees.
Oh.
So the elected, normally appointed by the governor, confirmed by the Senate, the Alumni Council representative wasn't required for all that. So I was president of the Alumni Council when the vacancy occurred. Chico State nominated me, and I competed against somebody from every campus and was selected to represent the alumni. And the term is 2 years, renewable for a total of 8. And in my 6th year, we had some turnover on the board, and I was named chair of the board and served some additional time because while you were limited to 8 years, and this is more information you probably care to know, serving as chair was unique for the alumni representative, and that was from 2012 to 14. And at the time, I transitioned from being in Chico to San Francisco, which was quite an interesting transition. As CEO of the Chamber of Commerce in San Francisco.
Okay.
So I was the CEO and chair of the board at the same time during the transition from Chancellor Charlie Reed to Tim White. Tim White, by the way, is an alum of DVC.
Oh.
The former chancellor of the CSU.
Well, we'll have to hunt him down.
Yeah. He's probably in Idaho somewhere.
Okay.
Sipping a cool one. But
yeah.
And that was 2014 when my term ended. And at the time, stayed in San Francisco, had some family health issues, and left the chamber soon after the Super Bowl of 2016, which was Super Bowl 50, and ended up getting on with Jeff Armstrong, president of Cal Poly, and did some work. That was from 2016 to 2021. So 7 or 8 years doing that, and then got back in the chamber business. So it's a long history of
it is, but you've been involved in a ton of stuff, and the thing I find striking is that you seem to have figured out a way to make it always work without. I mean, it's almost like you never took no for an answer. Sometimes no is the answer.
Yeah.
But
well, if that's the answer, I'd rather have it be a quick no.
Yeah. Yep.
Rather than a prolonged no.
Yeah.
But I value deeply my time at DVC. Knowing Peter Garcia, When I was in San Francisco, I met Susan Lamb when she was the interim at City College in San Francisco. Value my relationship with Susan very much. So I have a real inkling for the natural tie between higher education and business.
Right.
And so we're working on some initiatives right now that probably wouldn't happen had I not had that educational experience. And so we're working on things like the hospitality industry, which is, the hotels and restaurants, and these jobs are difficult to fill. Mm-hmm. And so we're working on hospitality strategy, workforce development strategy with DVC and Mount Diablo Unified School District to, show the younger people that the hospitality industry is something worth considering. It has a reputation of lower wages, but there are people that do make a pretty good living at it. And so we're working on that, as well as healthcare. Healthcare is a major part of Walnut Creek's economy. 30% of all employed people in Walnut Creek work in healthcare.
Wow.
So whether it's Kaiser Permanente, Sutter, John Muir, Bass Medical, UCSF, Benioff, all of them are striving to get more and more people. And, that's the chamber's role. We exist to convene leaders and influencers to make things happen. And both the hospitality industry and the healthcare industry need more people. So it's a matter of us to, create a path for younger generations to see that those are worthwhile endeavors.
So what do you see like maybe the next 5 or 10 years? I know the next 5 years are going to be interesting. You got the advent of AI, which is, you get some people think we're all going to die from it. I think it's going to accelerate. It's going to take up certain types of jobs, but it's going to make jobs a lot easier in a lot of ways. But you have that, you have high tech. I know there's some folks that have talked about high tech initiatives around here. And with, the Biden administration had worked on bringing more high tech manufacturing back here to the U.S., things of that nature. What do you see is going to happen over the next 5, maybe 10 years? And how do you think education is going to play into that?
Well,
I know it's a really loaded question.
Well, it's a very good question, but let me see if I can unpack it a little bit. Mm-hmm. You asked about technology, particularly high tech. I view medical technology, because of the predominance of the number of people that work in the healthcare field. AI and medical technology are indelibly tied. And so at a recent Innovation in Healthcare program that was held at John Muir's Cancer Center, they brought people from all walks of life, UCSF, Benioff, Sutter Health, Kaiser Permanente, all of them were represented in this panel. And the discussion went to AI. Mm-hmm. And AI has been happening for a long time in healthcare, right? Some surgeries happen with, machine tools and this sort of thing. I know this because my oldest son is in the technology field. He's in the manufacturing business in Reno. Chico State grad, by the way. And he works for a company called Hamilton, which produces medical devices. And he was involved in the task force that built ventilators during COVID.
Yeah, that's right.
That was a partnership with GE. The reason I'm mentioning that background is it's going to be rather significant. Mm-hmm. The trouble will be is not enough people with the skill sets to do the job. So we have to start at a young age. That's one of the reasons why we're working with Mount Diablo Unified on a number of fronts, is the sooner we can get to tomorrow's workforce about the opportunities for today. Now, having said all that, about 70% of the jobs that will be created for the next generation, the technology doesn't exist yet.
Right.
And so how, we have to recognize that there's a moving target here, and we have to build certain skill sets, the ability to communicate, the ability to write, the ability to add, subtract. Those can't be undersold here, but I'm excited about their future, even though my career, I say to my sons, I'm on the back nine of my career, and they say, well, Dad, you're actually on the 17th or 18th hole. But, all humor aside, it's going to be interesting times. And my experience at Cal Poly taught me a lot because I worked as an advisor to the President Armstrong on economic development. And down there, the defense industry with Vandenberg and Camp Roberts and Camp Slow, those are pinnacle jobs in that field. Obviously, SpaceX and a number of those things that are going on at Vandenberg. It's an exciting time in that region of California. I hold the same thing up north. I think that, in fact, we're working with DVTI, the Diablo Valley Tech Initiative that was founded at DVC, working with them on an event that we're going to hold in the Shadelands, which is one of Walnut Creek's hidden gems. We want to make it not so hidden. On the funders and founders and connecting startup ideas with funding, because we believe that the future in starting companies, particularly innovative growth companies, is going to be a unique opportunity for the entire Contra Costa region. So exciting times would allow, conversation would probably go on past the time that we have together. But it is an interesting and exciting endeavor to watch unfold and to be part of the conversation.
Yeah. I agree. I think that the next 5 years are going to be really dynamic and exciting, and especially with technology moving in. I'm just surprised every time I go in for like an eye exam and the doctor whips out some new stuff and all of a sudden they're not, it's not as invasive. It's much more. And I'm just thinking, this is just my eyes. Not to say it's just my eyes, but I mean, I can imagine with, heart surgery and all the other things, and especially in the medical device field, it's got to be just growing by leaps and bounds. Yeah. And I know that like between having Mare Island pretty much vacant, at least for the moment, it gives us, some land around here. Pittsburg, I know, is looking to develop some of their waterfront property to be acceptable, to be inviting to things like that. It could be a really good time around here.
Right.
So what are a couple things that you'd want to hang your hat, just like two things you'd want to hang your hat on through your whole career?
Well, I would think that
we got about 28 hooks that you could hang it to, but just
I think the thing I'm most proud of is the propensity to build coalitions, knowing that we can't do anything on our own. The relationship that the Walnut Creek Chamber has built with downtown, the opportunity to convene the 19 communities together, the chambers of commerce together, hasn't happened in a while. But feel good about the role I played in bringing them together and saying, how can we work closer together for the benefit of our region? One of the things that I convinced our board at the Chamber and Visitors Bureau is to think of Walnut Creek as a hub of the region, that it just happens to be at the central point of I-680, 24, 70,000 people, have a great relationship with Kevin Cabral over in Concord. We constantly talk about how we can work closer together. And we have communities around us that seek our help. And I'm always interested and willing to help. And so that's what I would want to leave behind, is a propensity for deeper collaboration.
I think that's a fantastic thing, and I wish that more communities and businesses had that sort of view on how to work together. So is there anything else you want to leave us with? Or
Well, I just, your listenership, I'm not sure quite the demographics. Number one thing I would say is make sure you vote.
Yep.
I'm not here to try to influence your vote, but I think it's something that we all need to do. The other thing is, let's see what we can do to help each other. At a times when political divide happens and we start vilifying those with different opinions, let's figure out a way to have some agreement as the direction we go together. You know, I enjoy working with political folks, but they work for us.
Yes.
So let's make sure that, you know, we don't have to be arrogant about it, but let's make sure we give feedback and see that working together we can accomplish a lot more than thinking we can do on our own.
Well, with that, we're going to leave off. I want to thank you again very much for coming in.
You bet.
And we'll get this out. Actually, we'll get this out before the election. So we'll get this out and we'll spread the word around. Because I think that last point is very important. You need to get out and vote. Yeah. Everybody does.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Thank you very much, Bob. And we'll call it a day.
Thank you for tuning in to DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next. The official podcast of the Diablo Valley College Alumni Association, celebrating 75 years of DVC's incredible impact on education, careers, and community. We hope today's episode gave you valuable insights into the journeys of our alumni and the powerful resources available at DVC. Don't forget to join us every Tuesday for inspiring alumni stories, and on Resource Thursdays, where we spotlight DVC's departments and services, showing you how they're shaping student success. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and exploring the connections that make DVC's legacy so special. And remember, DVC Alumni, where every story inspires the next.